My spoiled nephew destroyed my $3,000 gaming PC. My brother says it's my fault for having nice things.
Hey, welcome back to Story Glory. Here, I'll share submitted stories, Reddit posts, stories I find on the net, as well as a few of my own. If you like the story, please be sure to comment, like and subscribe. In today's video, a man finally gets something he's worked hard for, then a family visit turns everything upside down. And when he asks for accountability, he's the one who gets blamed.
This happened a few months ago, and I'm still pissed. And still out over $2,000. I just need to get this off my chest. I, 30M, live alone and work freelance doing design, editing, and some occasional streaming. I'm not rich by any stretch. In fact, most months I barely scrape by. Rent, utilities, insurance, groceries. It eats up 90% of my income. I've lived paycheck to paycheck for most of my adult life. No vacations, no takeout, no luxuries. Just work and saving when I can. The only big splurge I've ever allowed myself was my custom-built PC. This thing was my dream. I saved for over a year, sold off old parts, picked up extra freelance gigs, even skipped out on birthday events and holidays to put that money into a PC fund. It was my motivation for months. Finally, earlier this year, I built it. RTX 4090, Intel i9-13900K, 64 GB DDR5 RAM, 2 TB Gen 4 NVMe, custom cooling, sleek white Lienli case, RGB lighting. The whole deal. It cost me just over $3,000 after tax and shipping. This wasn't just a toy, it was my tool. I use it daily to edit client videos, render 3D mockups, manage my portfolio, and take on projects that actually keep me afloat. And yeah, after work, I'd hop on and play some games or stream on Twitch a bit to unwind. That PC was my hobby and my livelihood. Now, for the disaster. My older brother, Josh, 35M, was visiting town with his kids and asked if they could stay with me for a couple of nights to save money on a hotel. I hesitated. We don't have a super close relationship, and I know how his oldest kid, Lucas, 8M, is. Let's just say Lucas is the kind of kid who makes destruction his full-time job. He's high energy, totally undisciplined, and has a long history of breaking things and facing zero consequences. Josh always laughs it off or brushes it aside. He's just curious. He's got spirit. He didn't mean it. You get the picture. Anyway, after some pressure from my mom and guilt-tripping from Josh, I agreed to let them stay. I moved some stuff around, made space, and gave them very clear rules. Rule number 1. My office is off limits. That room has my PC, monitors, cameras, my streaming mic, everything. I even put a printed sign on the door. Do not enter. Work equipment inside. And normally, I keep the door locked. Day 1 went okay. I kept Lucas entertained in the living room with movies and snacks. The office stayed locked. I was still stressed, but manageable. Day 2 is where everything went to hell. Josh took his youngest kid to the park and left Lucas behind. I was exhausted from working late and decided to take a nap in my room for an hour. Big mistake. When I woke up, the apartment was too quiet. I walked out and saw my office door wide open. My heart dropped. Inside, Lucas was standing on my office chair, holding a red Solo cup. My custom-built PC was covered in Hawaiian punch. He had opened the side glass panel, God knows how, and poured the juice directly into the case. There was liquid dripping down the GPU. The RGB lights were flickering. A puddle was forming on the floor. The monitor was black. The PSU was making a horrible noise. I just froze. I asked him, "What are you doing?" And he looked at me dead serious and said, "The lights looked thirsty." I honestly felt like I was in a nightmare. I pulled the power, started trying to dry things off with a towel, but the stickiness had already gotten into everything. the case, the motherboard, even under the GPU fans. Josh came back 15 minutes later, and I told him what happened. His response, "Dude, calm down. It's just a computer. You shouldn't have stuff like that around kids if it's that important. Why didn't you lock the door again?" No apology, no offer to help. Just blamed me for making it look like a toy and tempting his kid. I reminded him I had a sign on the door, that I told him specifically to keep Lucas out, that this was my livelihood, not some toy. I even told him before they got here that Lucas wasn't allowed in that room. He shrugged, said I was overreacting. I told him to leave immediately. He got pissed, said I was choosing a computer over family, and called me selfish and materialistic. I said no, I'm choosing to not be walked all over by people who ignore basic boundaries. After they left, I took the PC to a repair shop. The tech looked inside and basically said, "Yeah, this is totaled." The motherboard, GPU, PSU, and SSDs were all fried. Only a few fans and some cabling were salvageable. The repair quote, $3,247. I sent the bill to Josh. He laughed, actually laughed and said, "Yeah, good luck with that." He told me to go through renter's insurance and move on. I did file a claim, and they covered part of the loss. But I still had a $1,500 deductible, and they depreciated the hardware's value. In the end, I got less than $1,000 back. So I'm still out over $2,000 for something that was never my fault. And now, Josh is telling our extended family that I exploded over a computer and kicked out his kids over an accident. My mom called me in tears, saying I should forgive and forget. No one seems to care that I spent over a year scraping together the money to build that machine, that I still haven't been able to replace it, that I lost multiple client gigs because I couldn't edit fast enough on my old backup system. I'm furious, not just at the loss, but at how dismissed I've been. Like my time, my effort, and my property meant nothing. Am I the a-hole for demanding he pay for the damage and kicking them out? Would you take your own brother to small claims court over this? Because I genuinely don't see why I should just let it go. Letting it go is what got my rig destroyed in the first place.
Now for the top comments. User Pistol Punisher 92 says, "Not the a-hole. Your brother is raising a little monster and blaming everyone else for his failures as a parent. You told him the room was off limits. You had a sign. You normally keep it locked. You did everything right. He and his kid are 100% responsible. Take him to small claims court. If he won't pay, hit him where it hurts, his wallet." User Lethal Beagle Rot says, "Small claims court is perfect for this situation. You have a written estimate, clear damages, and likely text to show you asked him to pay. Also, if you haven't already, write down everything you remember while it's fresh. That'll help when you go to file. And check if your state allows you to file online." User Definitely Not Petty 533 says, "The lights looked thirsty. I've read some wild excuses from kids, but this one is going to live in my head rent-free. But seriously, not the a-hole. Lucas needs supervision, not excuses. Your brother can play dumb all he wants, but he's fully to blame." User Frankly Sausage 4178 says, "Gotta love how the family magically appears when the adult without kids draws a boundary. Where were they when you were busting your ass for a year to build your PC? Not the a-hole. Don't let them gaslight you." Now for the update.
Hey folks, just wanted to give a quick update since things have escalated. So, yeah, I ended up filing a small claims case against my brother. I gave him multiple chances to settle it privately, sent him the repair estimate, photos, everything, and he just laughed it off, literally replied with, "You're really suing me over a damn computer? LMAO." So I filed. That part's still pending, court date is next month. But what's really blown up is the family reaction. My family is deeply divided over this. The younger crowd, 20s and 30s, all of them are on my side. My cousins, my younger siblings, they get it. Most of them have built PCs or do creative/freelance work too, so they actually understand that this wasn't just a gaming setup, it was my job. A few even offered to lend me spare parts or help me build a budget replacement. One cousin joked, if my kid poured juice into my MacBook, he'd be writing apology letters for the rest of his childhood. The older generation, 40s plus, completely different story. My mom is devastated. Keeps saying I'm ripping the family apart over electronics. My uncle called to say I'm turning my back on blood. One aunt compared me to Scrooge and said, this will follow you for years. They've made it very clear that in their eyes, I should have just forgiven Josh immediately and moved on. They don't seem to care that I lost over $2,000 in equipment I spent a year saving for while barely paying my rent. Meanwhile, my brother Josh, doubling down. He's telling people I kicked his kids out in the middle of the night. It was literally 3 p.m., that I'm trying to ruin his life over a mistake, and even posted some cryptic garbage on Facebook about how family matters until it doesn't, or whatever. I didn't respond, but a few people clapped back with, didn't your kid pour juice into his work computer? Which, honestly, made my day. Where I'm at now, court date set for next month. Still working off a janky old backup PC. Out roughly $2,100 after insurance payout. No contact with Josh right now. Low contact with most of the forgive him family members. Genuinely exhausted by the drama. This whole thing has been surreal. I never wanted to take legal action, but I also didn't spend a year scraping pennies together just to be told, you shouldn't have nice things if you don't have kids. Anyway, thanks to everyone who supported me on the original post. Y'all made me feel less insane for caring about my time, money, and boundaries. We'll update again after court, unless Josh tries to settle last minute to avoid showing up, which would honestly be the smartest thing he's done in this entire situation. Cheers.
Now for the next update.
Hey Reddit, back again with a follow-up I honestly didn't see coming. So last week I posted about how I filed a small claims case against my brother, Josh, after his kid, 8M, dumped Hawaiian Punch into my $3,000 custom-built PC. I gave him multiple chances to make it right, and instead he laughed it off and told people I was choosing a toy over family. He never took it seriously, and neither did most of the older folks in our family. Well, apparently, he never told his wife about any of it. She found out a few days ago, not from him. I got a call out of nowhere from her. At first I was bracing for another guilt trip, but she immediately said, I had no idea this went to court. I thought you two worked something out. When I told her what actually happened, how Josh refused to pay, mocked me for filing, and told everyone I was overreacting, she was livid, not at me, at him. She straight up said, that's not okay, and apologized for everything. She said she's been really uncomfortable with how Josh handles Lucas's behavior for a while now, and this just confirmed everything she's been worried about. Then she did something I wasn't expecting. She offered to pay me back in monthly installments, whatever she could afford, to cover the cost of the PC. I told her she didn't have to do that, especially since it was Josh's responsibility, but she insisted. She said it wasn't about covering for Josh. It was about teaching Lucas that actions have consequences, and that it's not okay to destroy someone's property and walk away like nothing happened. She also asked me not to tell Josh she was paying me, at least not yet. I said okay. I genuinely respect her for stepping up where he wouldn't. So, where does that leave things? I dropped the court case, since I'm now being paid back. She already sent the first payment. I'm setting up a new budget, build slowly, and at least I'm not drowning in financial stress now. I've gone low contact with Josh and everyone in the family who thought I was the problem. The younger cousins are cool and totally support me. The older relatives are still making passive-aggressive comments about healing and letting it go. I no longer feel like the bad guy. It sucks that it took this long, and that it wasn't my brother who did the right thing. But I honestly feel a little lighter. I stood my ground. I lost a ton of money, time, and trust, but at least someone in that household took accountability. Anyway, just wanted to share the update. Probably my last unless something wild happens again. Thanks to everyone who supported me. You really helped me feel sane through all this.
He saved, he sacrificed, and in the end, he was betrayed by his own family. But was standing his ground worth the fallout? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for tuning in to Story Glory, where every story leaves a mark. If you enjoyed this one, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more tales that captivate, inspire, or just make you think. Got a story suggestion or something to share? Drop it in the comments. Until next time, keep the stories alive.